The other day, I was having a conversation in the official World of Warships Legends Discord general chat. I don't remember exactly what the topic of the conversation was, but the subject of battleship builds came up. And as you know, if you've watched this channel for any length of time, most of my battleship builds include Kondo as an inspiration. For those of you who don't know, Kondo is the free to play brawling IJN battleship commander, and his base trait buffs the concealment on battleships. I like to use him. I consider building into concealment on battleships a survivability build, philosophically anyway. And I think there's sort of two approaches you can take philosophically when it comes to creating a build. You can try to improve the battleship's armaments by, for example, buffing into the accuracy with people like Cunningham or Iachino, Azerlane, Scharnhorst, etc. Or you can try to buff the gun platform itself and then let the unbuffed guns sort of do the work. I usually opt for the latter, particularly if we're using a commander like Robert J, which I am. You'll note that on this build, the only thing spec'd into accuracy is Flammable Cannoneer, and the two inspirations are Kondo and Azerlane Sovietsky Rossiya, who, if you don't have her, you could substitute Swirsky, and essentially you would get the same thing. Now, I've beaten this topic to death many times before, and you might have even seen this match before, because it did happen on one of my more recent streams, but I've been sitting on it for a while, and I think this is really a great match to demonstrate one of the other points that I don't know I've adequately demonstrated in the past of why building into concealment is good. Without the Kondo and the Rossiya inspirations, using just the concealment module, our concealment would be 13.8 on the Republique. We've got 12.4. What does that allow us? Well, right off the rip here, it allowed us to go around this island, come into position here in open water, and get another citadel on the Johann de Witt. Had we not built into the concealment and we were spotted at 13.8, that guy was 13.4 kilometers away from us. He would have seen us, and maybe he would have known to angle more quickly. Also, on top of that, we would have been focused by probably him, this Niord here, who we citadel again, and whatever other ships are on this flank. There's a Worcester out there too. There's some cruiser sort of hanging around the island, and I think there's a Wisconsin out here as well, if memory serves. But because we're built into concealment, and because on Robert J, he's got a skill that synergizes really well with concealment builds, he's not the only battleship commander that has it. The other French battleship commanders all, I think, have it as well, and so does Takanashi Hoshino for the Americans. The Megalamania skill, which is part of the reason why we've got about a 20-second reload on these 431mm guns. Megalamania buffs the reload by 10%. It nerfs the HP by a small percentage to sort of make up for that powerful buff, or have a trade-off for it, I suppose. And then it also reduces the time it takes the battleship's detect to go down to normal after firing the main battery guns. By default, on every ship, if you fire the main battery guns, your concealment blooms out to match your maximum gun range, and it stays that way for 20 seconds before going back to normal. And with this build, our concealment should go back to normal just a little bit before our main battery is reloaded. And of course, every time we fire, we are spotted by all of these ships, but we're not the only battleship or the only teammate around here either. The fact that we're able to go dark after every salvo means the enemies maybe start aiming at the battleship that's near us. Maybe they are looking for some other target. Whatever the case may be, it gives us a little bit more leeway to have control over the engagement, and it allows us to get closer to the cap to do things like support the friendly Shimakaze that took it. We were able to take out that Worcester, which would have been a major threat to the Shimakaze due to the radar. Now he doesn't have to worry about radar at all. And so he can go out here on this flank, he can launch his torpedoes at the Johann de Witt, the Wisconsin, etc., and sort of dissuade them from trying to play this flank, which you can see, probably due to the Shimakaze and the firepower, from me and the other battleship teammate I have on this flank, all of these guys are retreating. In fact, the Johann de Witt is retreating all the way back to port. And if you take a look at our HP, you might not have noticed it in the time, but we're down to about 1/3 HP after that, I'd say, rather lucky citadel the Njord gets on our cheek there. But imagine if we were spotted at 13.8, or if for some reason we didn't even use the concealment module and opted for RGA instead. You should never do that, by the way. There's no reason to. But if we did do that, we'd be spotted at 15.8. Republic's concealment is quite awful. And just when you're spotted that far away from the moon, it makes it really hard to push in and do things like support your destroyers. If you're going to get focused by 4 or 5 ships on the way in, it's not going to be a fun time. And so, buffing the concealment allows you to have more leeway in your positioning and also improves your survivability. And you might be thinking, well, the battleship's job is to tank, so why would you want to be dark and not be shot at? Look, we've tanked in this battle, okay? We're down to 33,000 HP. We're on our last heal after it comes off a cooldown. I think we did a fair amount of tanking. The cruiser that spawned with us, I don't think he took any damage, and now he's retreating to the other side of the map as we push into the cap. We're just trying to sort of follow our Shimakaze and benefit from his spotting. Wisconsin going away. I can't believe we actually got a citadel on him, but we did. Certainly we can't get lucky twice in a row. And I would say nope. But there's Minnow, who, well, this isn't a good idea, I don't think. Maybe we don't want to come around the island right in front of the Republique. He does smoke up. We do lose vision, but we had a bead on his position. So the salvo does 2 citadels, gives us the high caliber, and I suppose Minnow is lucky that he didn't get dev-struck right there. Minnow is, of course, a very dev-strikeable ship. To blind fire or not to blind fire? That is the question. No, we're not going to do it. We have our last heal off cooldown. We're going to use that, restore some HP, stay dark. If we don't shoot our guns, Minnow can't see us, and undoubtedly, he is launching torpedoes in this direction. So we want to be able to dodge those torpedoes without being spotted. If we have to maneuver in a way that presents broadside to Wisconsin's position, that could spell our demise, so we're going to be conservative here. We've got our other battleship teammate sort of hanging out by this island. There's another minnow out there who looks like we want to shoot at him. He's about to go broadside. You got to take that shot. It would be rude not to. Salvo's out. Other minnow in front of us is spotted. Torpedoes going to the side of the screen, so it looks like we did avoid, but undoubtedly Minnow's going to be launching more torpedoes. There's no other reason he'd be flat broadside like that. We lose sight of him again, but once again we are dark, so we don't have to take the focus fire from anybody else, and we know torpedoes are coming for us. So at some point here soon, we're going to turn hard to starboard or to the right and avoid these torpedoes. Where are they? There they are. Not quite right on cue, but we are able to avoid. And now, this situation is actually maybe a little bit perilous for the blue team. The count is even in terms of kills. Blue team has lost 3, we've lost 3. The main difference, though, in this battle is actually going to come down to the friendly destroyer. Shimakaze, you can see him there. He's still on full HP. He secured the alpha cap, the only cap that the blue team took. And now that Minnow has been dispatched right here, thanks to us and the other friendly battleship, Shima is clear to move into the Bravo cap. I don't think he's got too much to worry about right now if he does. There is still one radar cruiser left alive, which is Alaska, but we don't quite know where he is. And thanks to this Shima, the tide is quickly going to start turning in this battle. It's weird, honestly, to be praising Oshima for playing as well as ours is, but I'm glad this guy was on my team, even if he's playing a ship that I don't enjoy playing. However, you don't usually see this kind of competence out of Shima. Normally, what you see is what the enemy destroyer is doing. If you look at the minimap, you'll note that he is in the C10 grid square. What's he hoping to accomplish there, aside from useless border patrol? Couldn't tell you. but he's certainly not playing the objectives like our Shima is, and our Shima, for his part, is about halfway through flipping the Bravo cap. There's the Alaska out there. We're trying to shoot at him and get him off the board so he's not a radar threat to Shima, but, well, we're not allowed to sink him. Also, Yamato is moving straight in toward the two cruisers, which are pursuing the enemy Shimakaze and tying him up in the corner of the map there. He's broadside to us. Maybe we'll get a good hit here with the Republique's main battery guns, or maybe we'll just do 6K. These guns are certainly not the most consistent guns, but they do reload quickly, and I think whatever accuracy they may lack for me building into the concealment instead of doing the, is it meta to use Cunningham and Iakino or Ezerlane Scharnhorst as double accuracy inspirations? Is that the battleship meta these days? I don't care. The battleship meta should be this concealment build, honestly. That's kind of a joke. You can build your battleships however you want. I'm just telling you, there is value to this. And Yamato, well, I don't know. So much tunnel vision on these cruisers. He's, I think, broadside to me and everybody else. Look at how much HP he's lost. There's almost a dev strike, certainly the Confederate medal, 200,000 damage with our non-meta concealment build, and that pretty much wraps up the game. All that's left is Alaska, who's done well to survive up until this point, but he has not been able to stop our Chad Shimakaze over there, who did succeed in securing the Bravo cap, and apparently is aware of the Alaska's last known position. At this point in time, I don't think there's any hope for enemy Shimakaze still being pursued by the two cruiser teammates that are pursuing him. And the two of them together, Alaska and enemy Shima, are not going to be turning the tide of this battle and sinking all 5 of the ships. So normally I wouldn't say, yeah, go YOLO the radar cruiser in your Shimakaze, but it's not like this friendly Shima doesn't know what he's doing. He's done his job. He's pretty much, I don't want to say single-handedly, because he had assistance from me and a couple of our other teammates over on the Alpha flank. I think we all did a fairly decent job, but he has certainly led the charge in this battle and done what he needed to do to secure the win for the blue team. So if he wants to go out there and YOLO torp that Alaska from behind, be my guest. There he goes with his YOLO torps. We're going to send a salvo the Alaska's way, but I think he's going to accelerate behind that island, and we're going to miss him. Doesn't matter, though. Shimakaze torps do hurt a lot, especially if they're coming from behind unexpectedly, and there goes Alaska. So the game's pretty much over. I think the friendly cruiser there gets radar on the enemy Shima, who, well, you know, he's just out there doing Shimakaze things. I guess to not be super terribly critical of that red Shima, he has survived up until this point, so that's something. We end the battle with the 200,000 damage done, the high caliber, the Confederate, and the, what's the tanking skill called? Dreadnought. 3,000 XP, too. Not inflated by planes, just 3,000 XP because of the efficient damage dealing to a lot of enemy HP pools in the Republique, which to this day still remains an excellent battleship. So, you know, there's another example of me beating a dead horse into the ground, and yet another reason why you might want to spec into concealment even on battleships like this. Hope you enjoyed this video. If so, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.